Bienvenidos amigos a un episodio más de Caprichos. Y este episodio no es un episodio normal, es un episodio muy especial porque está con nosotros la supermodelo, filántropa, inversionista y madre de 5 hijos, defensora de los derechos de las mujeres y niñas, así como de los derechos humanos de las personas con discapacidad. Ella es Natalia Vodianova, es embajadora de la buena voluntad de la UNFPA. Natalia, welcome to Mexico.
Thank you, Brenda.
It's so happy to have you here. Esta entrevista va a ser en inglés y pues ojalá que la entiendan y si no yo les voy a tratar de estar traduciendo un poquito. Natalia, can you tell us why you're here in Mexico?
I'm here visiting UNFPA programs in the field. I actually, day before yesterday, I was in Xochimilco. I saw a center where young women and boys and girls can receive comprehensive sexuality education. They can learn also about family planning, about protection, different protection that they can have available to them. They can also get psychological help if something terrible happened to them. As we know, gender violence is something that happens all over the world, but it's also something that is, as I understood, a great issue here in Mexico. So UNFPA and their partners are helping young women and girls and boys to learn more about each other, themselves, and to also help them on this journey of motherhood, womanhood that is not always easy.
Now, yesterday there was this big event hosted by you and by UNFPA that was called Let's Talk Mexico. You were the one that started this movement, Let's Talk campaign or Let's Talk movement, however we want to call it, but you put it out there. Can you tell us what motivated you to do this?
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say that everybody can find Let's Talk Mexico on YouTube and learn about for themselves what we were talking about. But what really motivated me is traveling around the world and as a model and learning about all the different stigmas and shames that prevailing when it comes to female health. It doesn't matter whether you are a girl in North America and you have received sexuality education, or you're a girl in a country like Nepal, where if you're on your period, you are segregated, you're considered impure, you're put in a shed during your period. There are shames and stigmas that happen all over the world, and there is something we have to do about it. So Let's Talk is really a platform that brings together government officials, policymakers, activists. Sort of the shame and stigma around periods, it's the tip of the iceberg, but we talk about so many other issues concerning women, like bodily autonomy, gender violence, as comprehensive sexuality education, and just really everybody coming to share their experiences, to also empower each other, so that we all trying to do something individually and with our own networks, but then when we bring our forces together, then we are much stronger, of course, as a movement towards a better future and more equality for women.
Now, it strikes me as, I don't know, it moves me more than strikes me. You started in the modeling business. You started really young, no? You were 15, I think?
No. No, I was almost 18 when I started.
You were 18. And back then, more than now. Now it's more inclusive. No, now we're starting to see plus sizes. We're starting to see different shapes, different heights, different races. No, but back then
even
it was
people with special needs.
Special needs.
Right now, a transgender woman on a wheelchair is on the cover of British Vogue.
which back then, that was imaginary. You even said a story yesterday that really, I said, yes, that's where we all came from. I say we all came from my age, no, my generation, which is more or less your generation, where to be a supermodel, you had to be a certain height, a certain look, no? And you said that you got pregnant when you were like 19 in the height of your career. And where Grace Coddington, which was like this super famous editor-in-chief, said,
Fashion editor.
Fashion editor
Of American Vogue.
Of American Vogue said, wow, one of my greatest models got pregnant. It's like the end of her career. And now that would not be an issue, how everything has evolved, how everything has changed.
Definitely. I guess me and Leah Kabedi, who actually got pregnant at the same time as me, we were part of the change. We showed that you can be a mother and you can still look great and you can still model clothes. We were also very, very young, so that's different. But it's true that attitudes towards motherhood has changed. I also try to talk to as many women as possible about the fact that you can be ambitious, you can be hardworking, and you can pursue your dreams while being a mother, but also trying to do it in a positive way, not in on a constant guilt trip where every time you leave your children, you're feeling bad. And I was like this, and I grew, my experience has changed with becoming empowered. For example, one of the most prevailing questions to me in an interview is, how do you manage it all? You know, you have a very successful career as a model. You also philanthropist, and you're involved in many important issues. And then you're also an angel investor, and you're a mother of 5. How do you do it? Well, that's the easiest, I guess. My husband is very supportive, but how do you do it all? And so, you know, maybe 10 years ago, I would answer, well, I balance by staying, always being home on weekends and traveling during the week, and I would try to explain that it's the heritage I also built for my children, and I'm very proud of it. But today, I just say, well, I'm sorry, but would you ask this question to my husband? How does he manage to be a father and stepfather and also a businessman? And of course, the journalists don't feel comfortable, but sometimes they actually admit, well, you're right, it's not very well put question, not very sort of gender neutral question, and they wouldn't ask that to men, because men are not expected to be perfect parent.
But there is a very important thing that you're touching there. Me as a mother and as a working woman, I also feel it. I have 3 kids, and this thing that you just mentioned, guilt. I don't think men feel guilty for leaving their kids to go to work. Why do we feel guilty? Even if you're the breadwinner, it doesn't matter. Women feel guilty, men don't.
I think that it's maybe something that also we need to address. It's sort of this idea of motherhood and fatherhood. I think we should just be parents. And then as parents, it's actually more inclusive. And I always say to women, you know, look at your husbands. If they are reading a story to their child every night, or they're taking their child to school, they feel like this. They feel amazing. They consider themselves great dads because they feel, well, I'm investing. Maybe I'm doing homework with my child, or I'm going on, I don't know. We share hobbies together, but us as parents, we feel so much pressure to be there, to wash our children, to feed our children, to really be there for each and every one of them. If we miss a day because we are working, or we already feel guilty, it's just somehow inbred in us, because that's what we were conditioned to do for years and years and centuries and millennia. it's okay, you know, this is where we come from, but we need to understand that today we
need to move from there.
We need to move from there, at least from that guilt, because it's not good for our mental health. It's not good for changes we want to achieve for gender equality.
And are you trying to put this message across with the girls that you talked to? Because yesterday you also told us a story about this girl that was overwhelmed with everything she had to do as a mother, and she was a young mother, and that you told her, why don't you turn around with your husband and tell him to help out at least once a week?
Yes, no, I do. It's, of course, very... I tried to do it in a very sensitive way, not in patronizing way, because it actually took me quite a long time to even reach out to my husband and say, okay, you know, to always push a little bit, because we have to push
boundaries.
Our husbands too, to do a little bit more and a little bit more in a delicate way, because it's also not their fault that they don't feel as responsible, let's say, for their children, for their everyday life. They feel, of course, they love their children. I'm not questioning that, but it's just this drive this longing to be there every day for our children, and this sort of sadness when we miss any time with them. And I'm not, so there, of course, it makes us better parents as mothers, but then we should push our husbands to contribute, because, of course, when we know that our children are with our husbands, we feel better, we feel freer to do what we are passionate about and what we love to do, and to dedicate a little time to ourselves. So I try to communicate that to girls or women that I meet, but in a very soft way. Just a suggestion, maybe something I ask, would they feel comfortable about this conversation? Because that's a bigger question. It's not suggesting that, but do you feel free enough to strike that conversation? And it's a almost something that it's something that they need to work out between themselves. You see, internally, am I ready to have this conversation? And if I'm not, why am I not ready to have this conversation? So what is my position vis-a-vis my husband, and how can I change that?
Now, there's another aspect of you that I do want to talk right now. That is the aspect of you as a businesswoman. You're a big investor in high tech.
Well, I wouldn't say big. I'm very
an investor.
angel investor. But I did. I was. Well, I wouldn't say lucky, but I guess I was lucky to meet certain great founders that I invested in, and I spotted them very early on. As an angel investor, you invest very early on in the company's life, and some of those companies became very successful.
Can you tell us about the app? There's an app for women.
There's one app that is fits into. Actually, two. One is one that I invested a long time ago, and it's became a unicorn now. It's called Flow, and actually over 2 million women use it every month, and it's a really fantastic product. It's at the tip of the iceberg. It's a period tracking app, but then it's covers many aspects of female health and well-being.
So people, sorry to interrupt, but so that everybody understands. So you, women, have that app to track their period.
To track their period. Usually, often women download this app because they want to get pregnant, or because they want to avoid getting pregnant, because they're using artificial intelligence to predict when your period is coming, and they are so good. You may not know that your period will be early, but Flow will know that.
It's more accurate?
It's very accurate.
Okay.
Very accurate, yes.
Okay.
So you can prepare.
But you were telling me very interesting data about this app.
Yes, well, just in Mexico, again, we're talking just about Mexico because
Yes.
globally, I think it's almost 200 million downloads and 120 million monthly
Wow.
active users.
And in
So,
Mexico, how many?
2 million.
2 million in Mexico.
2 million in Mexico.
Okay.
And 178,000 women got pregnant with the app and gave birth to 183,000 babies.
Wow. Wow,
So,
because of the app. Okay.
Because of that, because actually knowing when your ovulation day is gives you a bigger chance to achieve pregnancy.
Okay, or to prevent it.
Or to prevent it if that's what you're looking for.
And you were telling me yesterday that you can also track other health problems with the app.
Yes, they rolled out certain tools that will help you. They will never diagnose you, but they will say maybe because of certain symptoms you should check with your obstetrician, with your gynecologist if something is going wrong.
And I have to ask you something because I'm over period. I'm more into menopause. Why don't you do something for that now that we have to talk about it? No.
Of course.
Why don't we do something for menopause?
Well, I think that menopause it's actually part of the product as well. So you should download Flow.
Okay, I'm going to download it
it's,
when I get out of here.
I think it will be very helpful for that as well. And another app I want to mention, it's called Sola. And
SOLA?
SOULA.
Sola.
Sola.
Okay.
So Sola is also AI-powered product that is a virtual doula. Do you know what doula is?
No. A doula.
Doula.
To help you give birth.
Yes, to prepare you for the pregnancy. So this app is like your virtual doula if you cannot afford a doula or if you live in an area where it's inaccessible.
It accompanies you
throughout your pregnancy and answers all your questions.
Oh,
and
that would have been great while I was pregnant.
And it's really beautiful app. The founder is a woman.
Oh.
And it's still very, very, very early stage. But already we have comments in App Store like actually currently Sola, thank you so much because Sola is my only family right now.
Yes, because we don't think about all these women that are alone through all these processes. And yes, with artificial intelligence or with an app, you create a community which helps you go through these things that you don't want to go through alone. That's why I'm telling you about menopause, because sometimes you go early and you don't have with whom to share it with, no? Because maybe your friends aren't going through it, or these issues aren't talked about.
It's true. It's menopause. It's also important subject because some women they get it and they get ashamed and then they don't feel sexual anymore, or they may experience certain side effects that affect their daily life. But
and
then
there is a stigma about it.
There is a stigma, but also there are things you can do about it. There are certain. Well, there is a hormonal treatment to keep your energy up or to keep your hormones from.
But there's so much misinformation, and even the medical information is sometimes not accurate. But
well, that's because women are still so under-researched. Female health
that's so
and
true.
Female brain is so under-researched, and
we are treated like you said, a little men, and we are built differently, completely differently.
And it's not true. There needs to be more research, female gender
There
specific.
is a very good book, I told you about it, Maria Shriver wrote it.
Yes.
About the female brain and how it's not researched. So we're given medicines like as if we were men because research is done on men, and we are completely different. But that's another conversation that we need to have later. Can you tell us more about your life? Are you still modeling?
I am modeling, yes. I've never really modeled much. I was really lucky to always have contracts and to have a free time to perceive other passions like my philanthropy. I founded my own charity, the Naked Heart Foundation, back in 2004. And when I was still a very young girl, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just following my heart. And because my little sister, Oksana, was born with special needs, she was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, but later she was also already as an adult, she was diagnosed with severe autism. And growing up with her has affected me tremendously, because my mother was a hero. She was a true hero to keep Oksana, because everyone around, from doctors to her friends to her family, her husband left her straight away. Nobody wanted her to keep the child, but she persevered, and I was by her side in this journey of raising Oksana. We had no help. The pension was enough, to buy a pair of shoes, and she was raising 2 children alone. But Oksana also has. She's my greatest teacher. She really gave me this perspective on life that I'm trying to communicate with Naked Heart Foundation and personally about inclusion, because when we see certain struggles of children with special needs or people with special needs and their families, we just have different perspective on life. We appreciate life so much more. This is my richness. I love life, I love people, because I'm also very compassionate towards people who even were mean to me when I was a child and to my sister, and I experienced some violence and and also feeling somehow disabled, because I was just growing up with a sibling with disability. It's really affected me. I felt that something was wrong with me too, and that I was undeserving of friends, of future, but today I forgive all of our.
In some way, it helped you.
People who hurt us, because I understand that it was out of fear. They couldn't.
Ignorance.
Fear and ignorance, and unfortunately, we don't educate enough about these issues. So this is also a very big passion of mine, is to really communicate inclusion, because if children exposed to differences from very young age, then they just grew up being more empathic and more caring and more including and accepting of other people's differences, and it helps us. It also encourages them to be better at school, for example, because we know it's actually been proven that children who are studying in inclusive schools, they do much better in their studies, simply because they have an example of a child for whom, for example, even speaking is really difficult. Forget about writing an essay, producing some work, but for them maybe math would be so much easier than for a neurotypical child. And then they would see, my friend with autism, he struggles there, and it's my strength. But then he has his own strengths, and there is.
It makes them more sensible.
It makes them more sensible. It makes them also appreciate the gifts that they have received, and appreciate grateful. The gifts of others who may be, for whom some other aspects of life may be more complicated.
Yes, that's for sure. It is. Yes, it's another outlook on life. But you were telling us. about your fashion career. So you never stopped modeling. You've always done a little work of fashion. You're now in a cover. No, you were telling us. At the same time.
Yes, I'm still working. I'm now on the cover of American Vogue with 9 other girls who Karl Lagerfeld loved. It's an issue dedicated to Karl Lagerfeld. I saw you wearing Chanel shoes today. I don't know which period they're from, but it's still definitely
Chanel
Karl
is always
inspired.
Yeah.
So yes, so I'm still modeling a little, and I'm very lucky because I could always choose what I do.
I don't want to sound like all the other interviewers that tell you, how do you do it all? No. But why do I press on the fashion subject? Because I can see that over the years in your career, you manage to still be modeling, not full time, but maybe choosing what you do and what you don't do, still doing your philanthropy, still doing mothering with your 5 kids, still doing your social life, doing your everything, your family life, being everything. So it's not easy being a woman or being a man. It's not easy in any kind. To me, it's equal. Okay, so it is a big job to manage everything, no matter what gender it is. Are you on the same side as me in this?
Yes, I think it's all in attitude, and it's all in understanding why you do things. And this is my priority today. I mean, I still managed to be on, I think, around 80 covers of Vogue. So I had a beautiful career, but the reason why I chose to have this beautiful career, because I could have stopped a while back. You know, a while back, I have made enough money to live a simple but very happy life, but I chose to continue because my philanthropy has gave place to my fashion career, simply because, for example, for Naked Heart Foundation, I raised and most importantly, invested into fashion. What am I saying? Raised, but most importantly, invested in the field work, into training specialists that work with families who raise children with special needs. 65 million euros, and this is something that I wouldn't be able to do without participation of fashion industry, because so many designers and photographers and fashion editors have and different, of course, other models like myself have supported this journey. So I couldn't have done it on my own. It would never be possible to do all this impact without the platform of the fashion industry.
So you found a way of tying everything together, and that is marvelous. Being a woman, being a man, being whatever, for me, it's marvelous, and that's why I'm loving this interview, because it gives you an input of what a human being can be, no matter what the gender is. And I thank you very much. We're running out of time. I think we're getting a perspective of your life, an incredible perspective. We love what you're doing, what we started here now in Mexico, the Let's Talk movement. I was very happy to be part of it. And I have to ask you this question, because I ask everybody that's in the podcast. It's named Caprichos. Caprichos is a whim. What is your whim?
Oh, well,
your capricho.
I guess my love of chocolate. I'm trying to. I have to have chocolate every day, and
dark or light.
Well, I do 70%, whatever that is. That's my sort of go-to. I found my good chocolate with a little bit of sea salt that I like. But of course, if I could, I probably would have, the praline, very milky, terrible stuff. But I found a compromise that is good enough for my body, but still gives me that kick that I need. Well, and drinking coffee, I think that it's not. I feel it's not good for me, but I just cannot. I cannot
go
give it
a
up.
day.
I love it too much.
I get you. I get you in both of them. Well, thank you very much. It's been a capricho for me to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Same here. Y gracias a ustedes por escucharnos. Espero que hayan gozado tanto a Natalia como yo. Nos vemos aquí en el próximo Caprichos. Adiós.